Shalom, giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations unto the elect. And I wanted to do a land back sort of response, tap into a few things, ideas surrounding this video that me and the elder brother Kasap from the GMS DC camp went over, which, as a matter of fact, let me pull up the elders page so that you all can subscribe. Let's see. And in that video, pretty much we were going into a, there you go. All right, this is the elders page if you need to get to that page. GMS Custos Ba Amath. Subscribe to his page and be edified. Check this video out here. But in this video, as you can see, GMS DC and Dallas, women, and various topics. And we tapped into a few things centered around, brothers, dealing with women. We know that we're living in the times, where nature is taking its course. A lot of women are reaching out to brothers, and brothers are, the time is short. You know what I'm saying? And this concept of women, plagues a lot of brothers. And as the elder said, a lot of brothers don't know how to deal with women. And me, myself, I'm still learning women. All right. But at the same time, I can't say that I finally reached, the level of conquering lust, conquering, the need to have a bunch of women and the need to, smash any woman who's smiling in my face, and I'm starting to understand women more. And through that, it's causing me to make wiser decisions. All right. Of course, it's through trials and tribulations. It's through the Lord putting you in certain situations where, he uses you as a tool, as a vessel to go through things so that you can, then share them with other brothers, as a warning, because a woman here in this setup here in Babylon the Great, as beautiful as women are, as beautiful as the unions between men and women are, all right, it's all tainted. Okay, we're messed up, they're messed up. All right, so it's very important that you brothers be careful as to who you allow in your life. All right, and control. All right, as the scriptures talks about, a man that isn't able to control his lust. All right, pretty much what the Heavenly Father is going to do is make a fool of you. Okay, and we've seen it. We've seen brothers devoured by women, even brothers who are beloved, all had to go through things centered around women as a rites of passage. First coming into the truth, there was a particular woman I was dealing with that I had to let go, and that was a form of a rites of passage. There's things that I've dealt with in the truth with women, all right, that were, life-changing, but overall, my experience with women is different than, the experience that I hear certain brothers go through. I've, over the years, dealing with women, it hasn't been, this toxic, I see a lot of brothers and hear a lot of stories, and pretty much, not to say that I'm blessed or I'm above anyone, but, the Lord has allowed me to, encounter some decent chicks. Of course, everything's tainted here in Babylon. Of course, they're never virgins. Of course, it's not meeting the standard of the ancient world, but I will say that my experience with women hasn't been as bitter as, certain brothers. You hear certain brothers' stories, it's like, God damn, not that I haven't had wicked women, not that I haven't been through a situation where your nose may have been wide open and the chick took advantage of you, because that's really when a woman loses respect for you, is when your nose is wide open for her. All right. And certain brothers have to go through that. And this is why here in these times, the concept of adding, a whole bunch of women to your stable, as wives isn't wise. Okay. It isn't wise. Now, the Lord, we know in the book of Isaiah, the 4th chapter, all right, it states, Isaiah 4:1, in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man. Okay. Saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. All right. The scriptures talks about, women being saved for the purpose of childbearing. You get here in Jeremiah, the 31st chapter. Okay. So a lot of women are going to be saved through being linked with brothers. All right. But be very careful with that concept and how you're moving in these times, because you can get yourself caught up um, and ultimately be put in a situation that you weren't ready for, because, the concept of a wife, and the concept of just getting boxed, as we talked about in that video, you have to be real with yourself. All right. Because when you deal with getting a wife, okay, although it is the woman's duty to aid you in what you got going on and be a helpmeet, which there's, very good helpmeets to the best of their ability. Some women that are really trying, don't get it twisted, but all of them come with some level of hell. All of them come with some level of, the stress. Okay. Especially in these times. Okay. And all of them look at love, okay, and relationships and marriage according to what the serpent has fed them. Okay. Some of them sort of get certain concepts we talk about. Some of them, understand their role and, can be very peaceful, but all of them come with some form of mental strain. All right. Even if y'all not arguing, she may want to do this, want to do that. You're going to have to tap into the world. Okay. And there's a possibility of having a child. Okay. All of these things are possibilities, but it's all the Lord's will. And some of us will be used as vessels. All right. So that lessons can be learned for brothers around us and sisters too. Okay. Because you have women who believe, who may be digging on brothers and, want to shoot their shot. And brothers are busy, and most brothers have wives. Some may have one, and he's cool with that. Some may have 2, 3. All right. And you want to get in this man's life. You got to understand, getting in that man's life is not going to make, you think that's what you want, but 9 times out of 10, once you realize what it's going to come with, okay, you're not going to want to do that. This is why Isaiah 4:1 is centered around shit getting so bad, all right, that women are going to have to ultimately see you as a Lord, as a form of salvation, which some of them may look at you like that now, all right, but, okay, it's best to wait on the Lord to do his thing, because he's going to do it, and brothers are being linked with certain sisters now anyway, but in this lesson, I just want to put out some mindset, and hopefully you brothers and sisters are edified. All right. A lot of people think, doing videos, getting on the woman, the woman, is the way, which, those videos are needed and those videos are, of the spirit, but it's not so much about just being angry at the woman. It's more so about understanding women as pertaining to this captivity we're in, and ultimately, how they're older, their makeup. But this is Jeremiah 31:8. All right. Which means you got to be on point. You got to be in order. You got to, be real with yourself and not put yourself in a situation to where, you're angry. Okay. And the simple thing to do is just sit your ass down. Jeremiah 31:8. Behold, I will bring them from the north country and gather them from the coast of the earth, and with them the blind and the lame and the woman with child, and her that travaileth with child together, a great company shall return thither. So there are going to be a lot of women delivered, all right, through the act of childbearing as well, you see. But how the Lord is going to do that, this is why we have to wait. All right, wait ye upon me, saith the Lord. Now, when you get the book of Isaiah 4 and 1, all right, it talks about in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man. And certain brothers, which that's all, it is happening in a sense right now. All right, but you'll have certain brothers just focus on the aspect of getting women, getting women, getting women. And really, you just want box. You don't want a wife. You see what I'm saying? And that's what we kind of talked about in this lesson, um, which is here on this page, Remnant Saved. And, some brothers reached out, said it was edifying. A lot of things came out. It's always good to break bread with that brother. It has a very important insight. But when you look at Isaiah 4 and 1, this is giving you a scenario that women, okay, are ultimately, they have no plan B. See? And this is the best time to get women, all right, when there's no plan B for them. See, a lot of these women have a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, the world, their job, the money, other men, and in this setup, Babylon the Great, as it is now, is not a good time to just go out adding a whole bunch of women to your stable, all right, because you're going to put yourself in a situation where you're being driven mad. Then you're going to, have to, because of the work, you're not going to be able to pour into them, or you're going to have to ignore them for some time. And that's only going to create strain and trouble in the flesh that really you don't want, right? Isaiah 4 and 1, in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name and take away our reproach. So when you read this scripture, okay, the Western mindset where, it's all about, what the man could provide to them, take me to eat, okay, buy me this. I'm not going 50-50. That's going to be out of the door at this time because of a catastrophic event, okay? And how this is going to take place, okay, which, of course, we are in that process now. Certain brothers are, because a man is going to do what he does. When it comes to the situation between a man and a woman, there's only so much advice you can give. Certain brothers are just going to have to live it, all right? And certain brothers are going to do what they're moved to want to do anyway, all right? But a lot of times men find themselves in situations where it's like, I shouldn't have did that, So these lessons are to, kind of help you with that process. But overall, a man is going to do what the hell he want to do, okay? And when a lot of men use this scripture, all right, to just go on a coochie hunting binge, all right? And that's definitely not what the Lord is saying here. Basically, a lot of women are going to be in such a crazy situation that they're going to put off this Western mindset of romance. They're going to put off this Western mindset of what a man is and what this and that and all this podcast garbage that they're consuming. And they're going to say, look, my way out is through this man. And in that day, you're not going to have to tiptoe around, because no man wants to be monogamous. Let's get that out there. No man wants to only deal with one woman, but certain brothers have that discipline, it's, anyway, it says we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. So that day is coming. Okay, that day is coming. Okay, it's happening on a small level now, and the Lord is working, But through those situations and unions, it's not easy. It's not this romantic love story that, a lot of women imagine. And being with a man of the Lord takes a lot of patience. Okay. And I'll just say this, it's a straight gate for the women as well. Okay. And a lot of you women, you get with the men of the Lord, and you start to long for a worldly man because he's always busy. Okay. He has a wife or wives. Okay. You don't get that much attention. Okay, it's hard to get time with them. You see, so what you're gonna start to then you start longing a worldly man. You see, but women are tied to the mysterious, the mysterious way of the men of the Lord. So some of them stick around because they know that through the Spirit, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So some of them sit and bear with things, and hey, the Lord is going to reward those sisters as well. Okay, but again, Paul gave us some very good advice here in the book of First Corinthians, the 7th chapter. And I'm going to start at 25. Okay. Um, it says, now regarding your question about young women who are not yet married, okay, which you have a lot of that now. Now, the concept of when we say sex is marriage, okay, sex did consummate a marriage, but we have to understand that there was also order in marriage. Okay. Back then, when you deal with which I'll do a lesson on it, I have it planned out. I just got to tackle it. When you deal with the concept of marriage and our ancient customs, you have to understand that the father and the mother were involved on both sides. Okay, the son in getting the wife, all right, and the father was and mother was involved in the daughter getting a husband. All right, marriage was the joining of two families. You see what I'm saying? And that's what it always was. Now we're here in this situation in Babylon the Great where our fathers and mothers have nothing to do with the men and the women that we meet as Israelites. Okay, most of us are just going out and winging it. And this is why we have ended up with so many people. Because I will say, with all of the women I've been with, looking back now that I'm gaining wisdom, all right, I would erase hundreds of them. you fucked over 100 women. Don't worry about it. All right, a lot. I'll just say there's a lot of them. I would, just. I wish I never met you type of deal. Okay, and that's just me being true because I wasn't using wisdom. Okay, I was just attracted, or it was easy, or she was smiling in my face, and I got to have it. It was, and see, in this world, sex is not tied to a responsibility. See, sex was always tied to a responsibility. Yes, sex is marriage, but there was order in that process, and that led to the consummation of the marriage, which would happen in the secret chamber, right? And that sealed the deal. In our ancient culture, that's how it went. You would have the betrothal period, all right, which there was duties and expectations on what you would do to prepare yourself for this man. Could be, 6 months, a year, 2 years. Okay, let's say it's a younger woman. A younger woman could be promised to a man when she's young, all right, but she has to mature out, all right, to his liking before they join together. So during that betrothal period, she's being prepared for that man, just as we're being prepared as a bride, all right, through receiving this wisdom, bathing ourselves in the oils of Yahweh for Yahweh Shai. We're being prepared. We're in the betrothal stage. We understand the agreement. We understand what's promised, but we haven't been entered into the secret chamber to consummate the marriage. So yes, sex is marriage, but there was order in that. Sex consummated a marriage. And there's certain situations in the scriptures where certain men skipped all of those steps, all right, the wedding feast, which is like a reception, and all of that, and just laid with the woman, either by taking it or, seeing her one day and you're basically being like, you know what, I got to have it now. That happens. Okay, that happens. You know what I'm saying? And that was likened into a marriage, but he would have to pay the father 50 shekels and go through certain steps. But we didn't have marriage certificates. This is why this world needs to go away. This is why we need Isaiah 4:1, because you have to understand the men and the women's mind have been so far taken away from the ancient path, all right, that we tried to tap into this Western romantic, which romance goes back to Rome, way of life, and it never works for us. The expectations are all off. Okay, what you really want as a man is, and the majority of the time, is just box. You don't want a wife, and a lot of these women are sincerely trying to be wives. All right, but they're all messed up. So be very careful here in Babylon the Great, as Paul is writing this letter while the Romans were ruling. We're in Rome all over again. So Paul is saying here, all right, now regarding the question about young women who are not yet married, I do not have a command from the Lord for them, but the Lord in his mercy has given me wisdom that can be trusted, and I will share it with you. So some of the things that the Apostle Paul wrote and gave advice on aren't in the 613 commandments, but he used wisdom, all right, to guide the church in some of these matters, which is what we're doing. Okay, because of course a man could have multiple women, but when you look at those who really multiplied wives like that, it was kings. You see what I'm saying? It was men with resources, men who had the ability to have time on their hands, who were set. You see what I'm saying? That really multiplied wives. There were situations where certain men, like in the book of Ruth, once a particular relative, all right, outside of Boaz, was supposed to get the land. When he found out that Ruth came with it, he was like, "This is going to ruin my inheritance. I really don't have the time. All right, I already got enough wives. I already got my situation. I'm good." Multiplying wives is not really for every man. And get what I'm saying, wives, because wives come with a lot. Okay, they come with a lot, especially in this world. Okay, so be wise. Okay, so through wisdom we share these things with you. It says, because of this present crisis, I think it is best to remain as you are. All right. It was famines, it was things going on around that time, persecution of the churches, right? Remain as you are. If you have a wife, do not seek to end the marriage. Okay. You can't, you got a woman, it gets boring. All right. Because this is and sometimes successful marriages are boring. All right. Here in this society, it's business. All right. It is what it is. Okay. Success is you doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that could be boring. So, people seek to end it. A lot of divorces are initiated by women who get bored. You see what I'm saying? It says, so if you have a wife, do not seek to end the marriage. I don't, she getting on my nerves. If she's pleased to dwell with you, you can't just put her off like, I don't, as much as you want her to get hit by a car and, hope she don't wake up, men had those thoughts. Inside of the mind of a man is dark. This is why the red pill movement was needed in a sense. So you can kind of hear what men really think. All right. It says, if you do not have a wife, don't seek to get married. And earlier in this truth, hearing this, you like, what? Please, man. I want some, but really you just want sex. The duty of a marriage, all right, is different than you just getting some box. All right. It says, but if you do get married, it is not a sin. If a young woman gets married, it is not a sin. However, those who get married at this time will have troubles. I am trying to spare you those problems. Trouble in the flesh. All right. Troubles. It says troubles here. All right. Will have trouble in the flesh. The word trouble.
Strong's G 2347. Thlipsis. Thlipsis.
Burdened. Okay. Whether it's a cool woman or not. Okay. Whether he's a cool dude or not. Marriage is going to come with a burden. Especially as us men of the Lord grow. Because you could have brothers who've been with a woman since he came into the truth, but he changes. Okay, but women still have the standard of Rome, the romance and all of these ideas of what a marriage is, and what you and that you change. So what happens is it becomes a burden. It starts to become a persecution. Y'all arguing. She talking crazy to you sometimes. Okay. Or you could even have a woman as your wife who's cool, who don't, maybe y'all don't argue. Okay. And those are usually the women you don't see every day. Okay. Believe you me, if y'all are together all the time, eventually it's going to come, and brothers have good situations with women, but on some level, it's going to eventually come to anguish, persecution. All right. Straight. You're already in a straight gate. So taking on a wife and another wife and another wife and another wife is only going to add pressure. I want to go here. Let's do something. I want to do something. We never travel nowhere. Well, let's go out the country. I want to do this. I want to do that. I need this. Can you help me with that? Okay, having multiple situations like that is pressure. See that? So it's best to wait till the Lord really, because He's doing it. This system is hastening away fast. But be mindful that you don't burden yourself by adding all these different wives. All right. Sometimes it's best to just go get Keisha. Okay. Just go get you a chick, who that'll work out for you, or do what you do. All right. But, of course, ghetto, hood rat, stank attitude type women you should never lay with. But if you find you a decent chick, she ain't thinking sex, because these Israelite women, they listening to the videos. So they hear sex is marriage. Y'all lay together. We married. We're married. They be eyes be all big. We're married. And you're playing the part. Yeah, that's my wife. We're married, but we know according to ancient customs, we through. You just basically working it out the best you can. Yes, y'all laid together. You are a new creature in your Hawashai, but is this are you really, you're a slave? The Neely Fuller has a video on that. Let's look it up. Neely Fuller marriage. Okay, he has a good video going into it. Basically, you marry. He said it's like you marry a cellmate.
To get married.
Yes, sir.
Well, yes, for convenience and for some type of clarity, some type of orchestration, but we're still prisoners of war. It's like you marry a cellmate. See what I mean? That's the way that works. But you're still limited in what you can do. But there are some things that might be of some benefit. And it depends on what the war is.
Certain, women do bring benefit. A woman that's very clean, a woman that, supports you, in what you do, like your cheerleader in a sense. Women do bring value. Women can help men in his mission. But this concept of a woman here in this situation bringing you peace, they can only aid in the peace you get in your Hawashai. Women don't bring peace like that. That is a misunderstanding that men need to throw out of the door, especially if you're talking about a wife. It's not going to be a peaceful situation.
The warden says, well, if you are, quote, unquote, married, I'll give you more food than you usually get as individuals. I'll give you a little more and a little added bedding in there. I might even paint your cell for you and all like that. Kind of help you.
And the modern marriage it makes the man into Homer Simpson. Like you get Homer Simpson by this world. First of all, you start out by getting on a knee, and when you get on that knee, women lose respect for your ass. Subconsciously, really, they look at that. That's not the position any man should be in. Is on a knee in front of a damn woman. So this concept of marriage in this world, it has, and women believe they want that. This is why they end up dogging so-called good men out, because the man that's available and on and all up her ass, and they really don't like that, and they're admitting it on the internet as we speak. If you want to tap into that field, Sometimes you stay away from it, but sometimes you listen to these podcasts and these certain channels where men are talking and women are talking, and you listen to them. They don't want the concept of what they were fed. Really, they don't want it. Okay, they don't want that shit. A man on his knee, every time she call, he answers. They hate that shit. All right, and this is why they go after what they call the bad guys. All right, because he's indifferent about her. He ain't, his head is not up her ass. He don't answer all of the time. They really enjoy some level of mystery and chaos. That's just how they operate.
Along, and they determine what the benefits are going to be. The white supremacists. Here again, we are all prisoners of war. So yes, it might be convenient, and then it might not be. It might be for you to just say what we call single. It depends on what you expect to get out of it. But you cannot really be married in the system of white supremacy, regardless of what you call it. I am in a so-called.
And he's not even in the truth, although he says things that support the truth. Right? He's helped me understand certain, things, as pertaining to this world, right? But he doesn't teach the truth. But even he understands the harsh reality that you don't really have a marriage here in America. Point blank, period. You just linked up with another prisoner and you trying to work it out. Now, spiritually, all right, some, unions happen, yada, 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 right? But we're just being real. That's something, a lot's going to hurt a lot of your feelings, but you're not in a real marriage, okay? And the Lord never required us to have a marriage certificate, as IUIC is promoting to you. We wrote things out. Don't get it twisted. There were agreements, because you got to understand, a man giving his daughter away in negotiations, he's going to, make sure that his daughter is taken care of, and even him to a degree in this union. He's going to make a play for his daughter. So things were written up, inheritance rights, right? We did have that, right? But the marriage was consummated by sex. Here in this world, the majority of us are just wiggling around and bumping into somebody as we're at recess in this prison called America, or wherever you are, this prison planet, as Alex Jones calls it.
Marital situation, but I'm really not married within the system of white supremacy. Why? Because the system of white supremacy is set up so that it does not support marriage between non-white people with anybody. Why? Because it's the system of white supremacy.
Even Edomites suffer in this system too. Edomite man catching hell.
You can't do anything within the system of white supremacy, regardless of what it is, without supporting the system of white supremacy. And therefore, it's an unwieldy situation. It's a sloppy situation at very best. Yes. Anything that you do while you're subject to white supremacy is not going to be the way that it ought to be. You can't have a real marriage. You can't have anything that's really real, solidly real, when it comes to being 100% constructed in the system of white supremacy. It's not going to happen. But you can make any kind of arrangements in your jail cell that you think might be convenient. You move a chair around,
right,
because it's in a better position or something like that. But,
oh, man. Beautiful, man.
That's true. Prisoners of war cannot be married. Look at it that way. I like to use the prison analogy because a lot of black people have been in what we call prisons. The code calls it greater confinement. But we're all confined. We're all born in prison. And the name of the prison system is the system of white supremacy. So prisoners of war are not married. We can say we are, but it has to be recognized by the prison masters. And we just get together with someone and say that we are married, and the white supremacist says, yeah. But I appreciate over all of you. See, if you're a prisoner of war, you can't make decisions or make promises to your so-called mate. See, when you say a married couple, for instance, has to have what? There's an old saying, to raise a child, it takes a village. Well, it takes a system to support a marriage.
There you go. And this system is not conducive to a true marriage. This system is not conducive to a man being a real man and a woman being a real woman. This system is warped. So entering into any union, you have to take these things into consideration. Okay?
So if you're in a prison system, you're really not married.
Especially now, women are watching the videos and they hear sex is marriage. Okay, a lot of them are like, okay, so all I have to, I lay down with this man, now I'm his responsibility. Okay, this is why it's best if you're going to tap into that, make sure you are in position, all right, to add to this man's situation and not take. Okay. And as a man, make sure that this is something you really are ready to take on. Okay. Because you lay with the woman and then you find out, that wasn't wise. And you still got a deal. Then maybe a child can come. Okay. And then that's a whole nother can of lawful sausages. You know, that's a whole nother world right there and worry. The system doesn't support having children. This system does not support true life itself. Okay?
You can call a person your wife, but a lady can say, I have a husband. These are just words. But you can't promise that person anything as a prisoner of war. Why? Because you can't promise yourself anything. See, marriage is based on promises made and promises kept. But you can't guarantee.
It's based upon what? Responsibility bound to your nation, first and foremost, to the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, and your duty to your nation. That was the purpose of marriage, and to bring forth children so that you can pass down the legacy of righteousness. It wasn't based upon all of these things that this world has fed you in a form of romance. Okay? This is why Paul said here, as he's in the Roman captivity, you will have trouble in the flesh if you marry. If you coming together with the mindset of we getting ready to be united, we're not just smashing. We believe in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, woonty woont. And you would hear the apostles say, stay away from these Israelite women. And sometimes you wouldn't understand it, but through experiences, because I've been in this thing since 2007, class of 2007. All right, it's only so much of us still around. 2007, 8, 9, 10, that original batch. But it was hot. MySpace was popping, right? It was open. YouTube was way different. Women could inbox you. This is why the Lord took away inboxing on YouTube and all of that, because I would have had 8 children by now. Okay? Been bugged out somewhere. The Lord know what he's doing. But you get with women under this guise of we married and we had sex, and you find out this nigga crazy as hell. Okay? This nigga is broken. Okay? This person is really in a messed up situation, and now you joining with her. Okay, it could be now this is a part of your life. This is a part of your situation and responsibility. See? So trouble in the flesh is metaphorically of oppression, because women and children are used as tools of oppression by Esau, even when they aren't trying to be. Okay? Affliction, tribulation, distress, straits, pressure, literally or figuratively. Okay? Then as a woman, you get with a man, okay, you believe you're ready to be a second, third, fourth, eighth, 100th woman. But then you get in the situation, you like, I want more. I don't want to be a side chick. Well, that's what you're going to be here in America, baby. You could say the second wife, but really at the end of the day, this is what it all amounts to. We just holding on until the Lord makes a move for us so that we can be upgraded. But, okay, you second wife, third wife, then you find out I don't get enough attention. I want to see him more. I want to do this. Then you start pressuring that man and burdening him, right? And it becomes a mess. Then you say, I'm tripping. Let me stop. All right, because you laid with this man, you have, and then ultimately it just becomes a toxic situation. Okay, that's why you young men who are unmarried, okay, and you want to delve into that. I'm gonna get me a Hebrew Israelite wife. Be mindful because sometimes you just want box. Okay, and we here in America, we know that's all over the place. But here in these times, sleeping around with a whole bunch of women, that ain't even the answer no more. It's scary out here. So, find you a situation, a woman that believes in God but don't go to church, don't got a whole bunch of tattoos, don't a whole bunch of tongue rings and, nose bull, the bull ring nose thing, you know. Find you a decent chick. There's some out here, okay? But you may just want to do that, then tapping into this whole concept of, sex is marriage, and I got me three, four wives, five wives. Your neck go get hot, you gonna be through. And the majority of these women believe in romance. That's why they read those romance novels. Okay, even when they in the truth, they sit there and read that shit, and really they want that. So this is why Paul said what he said. Let's get it in the King James. 1 Corinthians 7 and 28. But if but and but and if thou marry, thou hast not sinned, and if a virgin marry, she has not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh. And I'm trying to spare you this. But I say this, brethren, that the time is short, and it remaineth that they that have wives be as though they had none, and they that weep as though they had not wept. He's quoting the book of Second Esdras, the 16th chapter, because basically the time is short, and we have a very, very, very important duty in this ministry, especially if you're the leader of a church. Okay, this is why Paul said bishops, all right, should just have one wife. That was great advice. Again, it's not law. It's not a law, but it's great advice. Okay? When you read Paul's letters, okay? 1 Corinthians 7 and 6, I speak this by permission and not of commandment. So some of these things he's telling you are not commandments in a sense, but they are precepts that can be used as commandments to guide you to peace. As the head of a church now, I get why he said, have just one. Okay? But I'm not a man of monogamous. I'm not, I can't do it. Sorry, baby. All right? It's just not, I ain't built like that. You know what I'm saying? But I get it. I get it. Okay? Because Paul didn't have no woman. Right? I say this as concession. Let's look up the word concession. A thing that is granted a special response to demands, a thing conceded, adjustment. So you have to make adjustments. All right, modification. You can't you can see the ancient path and try to live it, but you gotta adjust in the spirit, right? But anyway, the trouble in the flesh aspect, right? A lot of it has to deal with a woman's concept of what love is and what a marriage is. Okay? This is why women, when they hear about the ancient concept of womanhood and what made a woman, they run from it. They call it oppression. See? Is romance rooted in Roman mythology? Yes. The concept of romance has some roots in Roman mythology and culture, though it evolved over time and was shaped by many other influences as well. Well, here's a breakdown. How Roman mythology connects to romance. Roman gods of love. Roman mythology featured deities associated with love, passion, and desire. And believe you me, they are around. A lot of women's concept of a man and a husband, okay, is all rooted in what he can do for them and not rooted in how can I aid this man. You got a lot of men who come into the truth and they're basically like, what can the Lord do for me? Not what can I do for the Lord? Because we're in a position as a wife. If you want to know how to serve your man, look at how the men of the Lord serve Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, even when it's not instant gratification. See, a lot of women want, their backs patted and, award as Negro of the week for doing simple duties. Okay? It says Venus, the Roman goddess of love, beauty, fertility. All right. Greek equivalent to Aphrodite, Cupid. That's where you get the Valentine's Day. And what do men do on Valentine's Day? They got to go out of their way to make sure this woman gets roses and a dinner. All of these responsibilities, all of these you see, and women of the world require that shit. Women in the truth come into the truth and they act like they're shedding off the old woman, but they still have a lot of these expectations, man. You know, some do well with the adjustment and how we are, and may the Lord bless you sisters dealing with men and y'all got a thing going. It may not be perfect, but I tell you, if that's a man of the Lord, that's the best investment you've made with your box. All right. Hey, just being honest. Cause when this investment pays off, Roman literature and romance genre. The word romance itself comes from Romanicus, referring to the vernacular Latin spoken in the Roman Empire. Later, romance came to refer to tales written in these languages. All right, about heroic or chivalry, basically, chivalrous love. Okay. Roman poets like Ovid wrote love poems that focused on emotional passion, seduction, and romantic affairs. And women love that shit. Okay? Thick books. You like, what you reading? Oh, a novel. You look in the book, and he grabbed me by the nape of my neck. He looked me in my eyes. And you're like, what the fuck is this? Rose petals on the floor. Okay, look, just lay your ass down, man. You know, kissing. I don't yeah. Every man like what he like. I'm not kissing, shy. Just putting your tongue down another. Ugh. It's just some women require that shit. I'm not to say you wicked if you kiss your woman. That's but I'm just telling you what nigga, it ain't flaw. You watch this nigga all week. She ain't flossing. Back tooth black. This nigga, you laugh at one of all you see is cavities, missing tooth. You want a tongue kiss. Okay, you got salad stuck in your teeth, lamb. Okay, make these women gargle before they go. Oh man, Roman mythology and imperial culture glorify passionate love stories, affairs, even tragic romances. And women and people live their life based upon this mythology, man. However, romance as we know it today, the modern idea of romance is based on mutual love, emotional intimacy, and often monogamy. Okay, which no man is really happy in a monogamous situation. He's dealing with this current situation. Sometimes that's best for some men, but all men want other women. I'm just gonna tell you the truth, baby. Okay, that's just how we're programmed. Okay, God did it. You got a problem with it? Go to Him. Now, can a man deal with just one woman? Absolutely, absolutely. It says medieval chivalry and Christian courtly love. This nice guy shit that they fed you. Okay, getting on one knee. Okay, and women really killed chivalry because really women don't want that shit. And now the woman finds herself in a position where she talked all this shit and told men don't touch them, don't say nothing to them. Now they're walking around, men aren't speaking to me. You know, this is a channel I watch. This is just Jake. He funny. Please act right podcast. Is that the name of the? Yeah, this dude page. I mean, I like his videos. He's straight to the point. You know, he goes in. But you look at it, some of the thing all over the place, man. His videos are good, you know, but yeah, the passport bros. Which I get it. You going, you flying around the world to find, you know, a better woman, but really it all amounts to vanity, you know. But I get it. We get it. We get it. There was a video I was looking at the other day on this channel. Um, why modern women are giving these. It was one man where women were like, "Where men don't speak to them no more." They were, you know, hurt. Okay, they were hurt that men. Yeah, here's one.
She says no. No, sorry, I'm not interested. What's the worst case scenario?
Hey, this is Raul. Please act right. Now, usually when I watch this young lady's video, she makes a lot of sense. But on this one, she's yet another woman pretending like she doesn't understand why men don't want to approach women anymore and asks, what's the worst case scenario if you ask her out?
At that point.
So it's the thing now where women, you go have to holler at men now because men are so checked out that pretty much men ain't even, you know, men, you know, they'll look at you, but what they really see is another problem, another good morning text, another, you know, trip they got to go on, another nag, which that's hell. Okay, but women said stop talking to us, stop doing this. We don't want this. We don't want no man. I don't need no man. So now they're like, what the fuck? Just wanted to tap into this real quick.
What happens? What happens? Do you shrink an inch? Do you lose? Like, does your hairline recede an inch?
She's pretty much just begging men to approach women and just deal with the outcome. Could it be that men have stopped approaching her and she can't handle it now?
Does money like fall out of your bank account? Just like, what happens?
This coming from a woman who's probably never had to approach a man a day in her life. So what would she even know about how it feels to be?
I'm so annoyed that the feminist movement and all these like very entitled females now made it like almost basically impossible for men to never not seem creepy. And I'm just like, here, like, what the heck? If you don't talk to me, I think you're a weak man.
See, if you don't approach her, she calls you weak. Did she ever stop to think that maybe the guy just wasn't interested in her?
And you may not be, you probably aren't, because it'd be impossible for every man to be a weak man, especially the gym that I go to. But yeah, the feminists really, really ruined men need things. Shame on you, feminists.
Is there any guys out there who still like to help girls out and like just be manly and, you know, trying to like take care of you? Because honestly, I literally was moving my boxes from my car to my apartment that I live on, the fourth floor, that I actually no elevator. And these guys are seeing me, 3 whole grown men
who don't owe you anything. You left that part out. And here's another one.
I want a rich man. I want a man with money. So that's what I want. And I'm not going to settle for less than that.
It's various videos on this channel. It's another dude I watch where basically women are like, damn, men ain't approaching us no more. What the fuck? See, nature is going to take its course. This whole back and forth, arguing back and forth, screaming at the top of your lung at the woman, just let nature take its course. That's the approach I take. But anyway, going back to this romance thing, okay, I said, How does romance affect relationships in the modern world? Are men held to a standard based on mythology and not reality? Absolutely. Many modern expectations in romantic relationships, especially for men, are influenced by ancient mythology, literal, literary ideas, and cultural fantasies more than by reality. Okay? We're in hell. This concept of you finding a man that's just going to take care of you and you ain't going to have to do nothing. Hey, we don't live in that world. Okay? This whole concept of 50-50. Certain men could go 70-30, maybe even 80-20, but in this world, you're going to have to bring something to the table financially. But the fantasy is this rich man, which you think you're going to have all to yourself, is going to pay all your bills and you good. No. You a prisoner, nigga. Take your ass to work. Help. It's fantasy. So you get yourself involved with these women. Now some of them are listening to the truth and trying to change their life around, but they still they still got that a lot of them still got that horn under that rap. Okay? These deeply embedded myths have shaped what people think love should look like, often created unrealistic standards. Like they say, they want the man to be a thug, a poet, okay, a preacher, okay, everything. And men who really wanted them, they just was like, hell, this nigga ain't interested enough. Bye. Okay, a bullet hole and 8 tattoos later, you find that same dude on Instagram working out, bottom shelf Brad, and now he fine. Now you want him. Okay, a lot of women have already met the man that they were supposed to be with, but because of these unrealistic standards that affect both men and women, all right, but men in particular are often cast into roles that originated in myth, legend, and heroic storytelling. So understand this. Tapping into a modern woman, okay, is tapping into, you're going to have to tap into some form of that myth. I don't care how much of a man you think you are, you're going to have to tap into some of that, okay, to have a woman, right? Some of it. You're going to have to tap into it, okay? Vanity. Let's travel. Let's do this. Let's go here. Which travel, there's nothing wrong with them. I'm just saying, you don't have the resources and time to do all that. Okay? These women, they live in being, a lot of them are grown children with breast. Girls just want to have fun. That's the concept of a woman. Pleasure, you know? And tapping into that, you're going to have to tap into a side of that. From Roman and Greek mythology onward, men were expected to pursue the woman like a conquest. Okay, Cupid. All right, all of this stuff that we've been taught is tied in Greco-Roman ideology. Be stoic warriors, emotionally controlled, yet powerful protectors. All right, and you women don't want to be called possessions, but men only protect what belongs to them. Okay, if I walk outside and I see somebody, scratching a car up the street that ain't mine's, I'm not finna go fighting to protect that car and get myself what belongs to me, my possession, including my wife or wife, whatever. That's what I'm going to protect because they belong to me. Women want all of the, accolades of, what men bring to the table, right? But they don't want to be modern. They don't want to be ancient women. They want the ancient man. They want all of this, but they don't want to themselves fit into what ancient woman brought to the table. Even when you read about the virtuous woman, okay, you read about the virtuous woman. Okay, who can find? Is it Proverbs 30 or 31? My ass can't even spell virtuous. when you read this, and the Bible warns about women a whole hell of a lot. The original red pill was the scriptures, man. But when you deal with this concept of a virtuous woman, who can find a virtuous woman? Verse 10, her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that she will have no need of spoil. But when you read it, her whole duty is for the household and for her husband, right? To make, is basically for the household. And when you read this in spirit, it could also be tied to what the men of the Lord are doing for the church. See? She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. Okay? So, you could read that on your own, but romance has told the woman she ain't got to do nothing but be pretty and have a coochie. Why men have to sacrifice themselves for love but never appear vulnerable. And when a man appears vulnerable, opens up his emotions, women, all right, are taking in all of that, all right, and basically putting it in their Rolodex, man, and they will use it against you at some point. Modern impact. Men today still feel pressure to be providers and protectors, even if that's not sustainable or mutual. Okay, but then when you start to have multiple situations where you have to provide and protect, that's going to stretch you out. Okay, so as we were talking about in that video, do you really want a wife, or do you just want some box? Okay, especially dealing with these Israelite women. I'm just being honest. Emotionally detached or strong at the cost of expressing real needs, the initiator or fixer in all relationship dynamics. And she doesn't bring it, the I am the table. I'm so goddamn tired of that question. What do you bring to the table? I am the table. Peace? No, you don't bring peace. The myth of perfect romantic pursuit. Myths taught that love should be dramatic, filled with obstacles and passion. A man must win a woman's heart through acts of valor or sacrifice. A real man is persistent even when rejected. So you got to understand, when you're dealing with these women, you're dealing with all of this mythology in their head. Okay. And then music. The culture that we live in is not conducive to life. So you tapping into these women. All right. These are certain, you're going to have to deal with it, even with some who believe. Modern impact. Chivalry is often confused with control or manipulation. Persistence is mistaken for romantic rather than invasive. Men feel they must perform to love instead of being persistent and genuine. And she don't have to do nothing. Okay? Ain't that something? And again, women kill chivalry, right? Romantic love as destiny. Mythology and fairy tales push the idea of one true love, a soulmate. That concept of, oh, you think I'm your soulmate? Yeah, maybe one of them. It says, a soulmate chosen by fate, like Cupid's arrows. Modern impact. Men and women may feel like they failed if a relationship ends or if it's boring. Okay? Not that there's not some form of excitement here and there, but, a basic, marriage and relationship here in America becomes redundant, right? And a lot of women, I'm out. I'm bored. I should be happy. I should have what the woman on the podcast said I should have. Okay? Some feel pressure to force or fake forever love even when it's unhealthy. People overlook real compatibility and search for a mythical perfect match. Emotional repression. In Roman and heroic tradition, men were not expected to show vulnerability. Emotional displays were signs of weakness unless it was a rightful anger or grief. Modern impact. Many men are emotionally disconnected or shamed for expressing their feelings. Okay? You think you really want to know what your man thinks, but when he says it, you get hurt. Then you start to shame him. Men can't even have standards. We just started hearing men's standards, and then they were called creeps. Men want younger women, right? Oh, you a pedophile, you a creep, because you got a 50-year-old man or a 40-something-year-old man with a 20-something-year-old woman. He's called a pedo. Okay, when men don't ain't looking. When men get older, they don't want a woman their age, right? That's just the nature. And when you look at the world around you, women always wanted older men. Even when you like a lot of these women cursing out R. Kelly, which the nigga is wicked. But you look at when these women were in junior high school and high school, they wanted the coach, they wanted the police officer, they wanted the campus supervisor. Ooh, Mr. Nelson, fine. Because what? What did he represent? He was stable. Okay, even in the ancient world, the man was usually a little older than the woman, right? Have had some experience, has a situation set up, right, to where he can, take her in and really be that provider. But in today's world, Stella can get her groove back, but Uncle Ronnie's a creep. Okay, it says relationships suffer because partners can't connect on a real emotional level. Okay, many men fear being seen as less masculine or being empathetic, gentle, uncertain. So you trying to live this lie and it ain't working, man. This is why a lot of men are just checked out. Okay? Modern relationships often struggle because we're trying to live up to a script written thousands of years ago, and the script wasn't designed for healthy, equal partnerships. See, and it's damn sure ain't living to the standards of the scriptures. Okay, and it's hard to live up to the standards of the scriptures anyway in a relationship or marriage, whatever, because of the hell we in. So the overall point is be mindful. There's so many scriptures we can get, and brothers can put some on the comment board if you know. But let's see here. Men are often held to standards born from mythology, not reality. Okay, again, you got certain women that are starting to understand some of this stuff and or easier to deal with. Not every woman is what you see on Fresh and Fit, and but all of them to some degree are going to bring some hell, okay, some form of stress to your life. So what Paul is saying here is spot on, man. Okay, spot the F on. Okay, it says here, let's see here, 1 Corinthians 7:31, those who use the things of the world should not become attached to them. For this world, as we know, for it will soon pass away. Okay. It says, yeah, she wants to go on a tour of Italy in hell. At the time where the world is, everything's unstable and crazy. She wants to do this and that. So you're going to have to deal with that. And as men, sometimes we be like, all right, fuck it. Even though you can't, you try to do it. But again, it's going to bring hell, this world. Okay. I want you to be free from the concerns of this life. An unmarried man can spend his time doing the Lord's work and thinking how to please him. But a married man has to think about his earthly responsibilities and how to please his wife. They're going to want to talk. They're going to want to text. Some of them can deal with it to where it's not as much, but on some level, you're going to have to eventually tap in. Right? And then the child comes, that now that's a, basically a form of nigga, bring your ass back here. Bring your ass home. Check in. Because if you don't, now you don't love your child. Right? But, again, you deal with certain women and they understand you teach and, and all of these various different things. And, some of them don't give you hell about it. And that's a blessing of the Lord. That because dealing with a woman in this spirit, Sirach 25 and 13 in a GNT. No wound is as serious as wounded love. All right. You get your nose all wide open for a woman and get hurt. You get with a woman and y'all just prone, because some brothers like toxic shit too. I don't get it, but some brothers like that toxic back and forth love, that Jody, that bait, you know what I'm saying? Arguing one week and back together the next. Some brothers are really into that shit. And I can't do it. All right. It says, no troubles are as serious as the troubles that women cause. No sufferings are worse than the sufferings caused by people who hate you. No revenge is worse than revenge taken by an enemy. No poison is deadlier than the poison of a snake. No anger is deadlier than the anger of a woman. Okay? I would rather live in a house, same house with the lion or the dragon, than with a bad wife. So be careful who you add to your life, man. A lot of these things is hell you in now. We got to put curses on Sheena. Put curses on Sheena Easton. But you chose a monster. You was thinking with your rod. You got all this wisdom, but here it is. You still making bad decisions centered around women. Now I got to turn and face the east in the middle of work with some goddamn slacks on. Right? Make better decisions with your rod. The world is yours. You got wisdom now. Okay? If you need, find you something that works for you. But this whole concept of wife and husband, hey man, in this world, even when it's kind of cool, all right, it's a burden. It says her husband has to go and eat with neighbors where he can't hold back his bitter side. Yeah, brothers come around, brothers. This bitch, man. Ah, man. When a wife is in a bad mood, her expression changes until she looks like a bear, an angry bear. Her husband has to go and eat with the neighbors where he can't hold back bitter sides, man. Okay? And you get into that type of situation where it's constant arguing, man, roll out. But some brothers love that shit. We back together, makeup sex. Okay, cool. Compared with the troubles caused by a woman, any other trouble looks small. May such women suffer the fate of sinners, all right? Giving brothers hell over, minuscule things. Never lose your head over a woman's beauty, and don't try to win a woman because she's wealthy. That guy, the woman taking care of you, which there's nothing wrong with a woman holding you down when you down at a point, but you don't want to be dependent on no damn woman to support you, all right? Because they're going to eventually start to mock you, talk shit about you. When a man is supported by his wife, there is sure to be anger, arrogance, and humiliation. A bad wife will make her husband gloomy and depressed and break his heart. Show me a timid man who can never make up his mind, and I will show you a wife that doesn't make her husband happy. So women play a very, very important role in mood. Okay, the overall health sometimes. So choose wisely, or sit your ass down. As Paul said, because this could all happen. It could start off as a smile and, hey, hi, what's your name? And it can end in child support. And you hoping, she get into a car crash, and then she get into a car crash and make it. Get into a plane crash and climb out of the goddamn plane rubble. Like, damn, this nigga never died. Okay? Don't let a bad wife have her way any more than you would allow water to leak from your cistern. If she won't do as you tell her, divorce her. There you go. All right. Verse 20, chapter 26:1, the husband of a good wife is a fortunate man. He will live twice as long because of her. And you look at men and the health and how they droop down. A lot of it is centered around experiences with women, man. Okay, a fine wife is joy to her husband. So there is a good aspect to women, but we're just letting you know you're in captivity here. Okay, but I don't want to go too far on this. It was something I wanted to get. not talking to jealous women too. Okay. Phew. That's another demon. That's another hell. Let's see what's something. Something is another scripture. But anyway, I just wanted to tap into a few things. I didn't even flush out all of my ideas, but Lord willing, we'll be doing more topics on this. Hey man. 1 Corinthians 7:33. But a married man has to think about his earthly responsibilities and how to please his wife. His interests are divided. In the same way, a woman who is no longer married has never been married can be devoted to the Lord and wholly in body and spirit, but a married woman has to think about her earthly responsibilities and how to please her husband. And the reason we get in these unions is burning, It says, I am saying this for your benefit, not a place of restriction on you, all right? Not to place a restriction on you. I want you to do whatever will help you serve the Lord best with as few distractions as possible. Okay? So if a man thinks he is treating his fiancée improperly and will inevitably give into his passion, let him marry her as he wishes. It's not a sin. Okay? But if he has decided firmly not to marry and there is no urgency and he can control his passion, he does well not to marry. You got certain brothers who sometimes they'll get, they're in the spirit, they don't deal with women, devoted to the body, the work, but they'll get a spirit on them like, man, I want a woman, and they'll go out there and they'll realize why they was in the spirit that they were in the first place, man. Okay, so I just wanted to tap into that, man. Just know that you're going to have trouble in the flesh. Either way it goes. You're tapping into these women. A lot of their heads are filled up with crap. We're broken. They're broken. This is a messed up situation. So please act right and ultimately understand the situation you're in. Okay, and the Lord is going to deal, man. All right, we almost out of this hell. So pretty soon, as men and women, we ain't gonna have to worry about all of this crap, and we'll be able to be joined together and love. And I can't wait to enjoy wives and be able to spoil them and have the means to make sure that I can't wait. But for now, I have a duty. Okay, Shalom.